IVM.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Positively Unlimited podcast. This is an A to Z series of work life balance. And with the letter O, I'm touching upon a very common problem. One that rests on a faulty belief. O for overtime. The core problem, and I say core problem because being stuck in office, doing overtime, constantly working beyond the designated work hours is not just a matter of workload. Very often, it is a matter of a very, very faulty belief. The belief that I must be the last one to leave the office, or the belief that I must not leave the office before my boss does. How many of you stick around beyond your work hours only because you're trying to impress the boss? Because you're trying to find the fastest route up the ladder? Well, here's the problem. Well, let's just get a realistic perspective about certain processes at work. I mean, almost every organization has an HR team. An HR team comes up with certain processes, rules, policies, which employees are supposed to follow. One of the things, or rather, there are two very important elements in those policies. One is your work hours. What time you come in and up until what time you are expected to work. And the second thing is the number of leaves you are allowed to take. Now, when it comes to this word overtime, we're struggling on two different levels. One is that most of us stay beyond our work hours. We burn the midnight oil. We take our work home. We work on the weekends. The second problem, or the second level at which this problem of overtime comes up, is when we don't take our leaves. Why? Because of this notion in our head that, oh, my company will shut down if I take a day off, or my whole team will collapse if I take a day off. Firstly, step down from that pedestal. You aren't indispensable, and you are not that important. No, your team will not collapse if you don't exist, and nor will the company crash and burn. Remember one thing, you are one spoke in the wheel, one person in a very large system. And yes, sure, you add value. Nobody is denying that. But the value that you add, honestly, on a realistic scale, is possibly just one ingredient or a bunch of ingredients that need to be stirred into that cauldron of profit. Now, many of you may argue with me that when we were interviewed, we were told by the HR person and by our bosses that the job calls for erratic hours and the job calls for late nights or working weekends. Well, the fact that you said yes to it, you need to go listen to episode 177 and 178, which is all about ambition as well as balance. Because the fact that you said yes to a job like this means you are okay with overburdening yourself. You are okay with being overworked and allowing your peace of mind to be thrown out of the window. In fact, you are okay with never being given a chance to take care of your mental well-being. And you are fine with the culture that exists in your field. So while you may blame an organization, take responsibility for the part that you play by not speaking up and by saying yes. Remember, you also say yes because of your own ambitions. It is your desire to rise up a certain way, to build a life in a certain organization. So while companies and HR teams need to relook at their policies, and yes, the world over, even in India, things are changing. However, unless you take a stand and more people like you take a stand, things aren't really going to change. Now, here's the problem with working overtime and being overworked. It leads to the latest hashtag and trending word, burnout. So, in trying to run for your ambitions, trying to run for your goals, trying to run to make that money, earn that designation, make the people in your life proud, feel like a success, you burn out. How many of us really stop to ask ourselves that all my success will come at what cost? It's one thing to put in extra hours every now and then. Okay, since the culture is rigged against us, let's say that you put in extra hours once a week, maybe even twice a week. But if it is the norm, then something needs to change. And if nobody is making that change, then let the person who raises his voice be you. Also, I will say this. Listen to the episode just before this, No Means No, and listen to the episode that's going to come after this called Project Pile Up, to understand two other perspectives to why you may be working extra hours. Why is it that you end up with the overtime? Do you know why you work? Why is a career important? Well, on one level, it gives us money, which is important to survive in today's world. It allows you to maintain a certain lifestyle. On another level, it gives you a sense of self, it gives you purpose, it allows you to use your energy and potential productively. It allows you to experience the emotion of success. But all that money you earn and the success that you enjoy is supposed to do one other thing. It's supposed to allow you to live a good personal life. Whether it is seeing the world and buying things that you love, taking your lifestyle one notch up, or whether it is spending time, energy, money on the people that you love. But if you are going to be working all the time, Monday to Sunday, from 8 a.m. in the morning to 12:30 at midnight when you finally pass out. No, many of us don't fall asleep. Let me say this. There are so many of us who pass out at the end of the night because we're so tired. And if that's all you are doing from 8 a.m. to 12:30, or from the time you open your eyes in the morning to the time that you shut them at night, then what is the point of that career and all that money and all that success? At what point are you going to be actually enjoying the fruits of your labor? You know that scene in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? Yes, the scene where Katrina Kaif looks at Hrithik Roshan and asks him, what's he going to do with all the money? Or the scene where Hrithik Roshan says he'll retire by 45. And there's this whole seize the moment kind of conversation. Well, no, I'm not saying anything that romantic to you guys, but I'm just giving you a piece of reality. You work so hard so that you can live a good life. If your work leaves no time for that life, then your work and your career is counterproductive. The whole point is moot. Now, either you need to organize your life, or, and maybe it's not an either or but an and, your organization needs to get their act together, especially the HR team and the bosses. And you need to understand that work-life balance means putting your work in its right place. Understanding that it is one part of your life, not the center of your life, and treating it exactly like that. So I'm going to ask you this. All the extra hours that you work, whether it is on a weekday or you taking your work home or the weekend, why are you doing that? For what? To live a good life? Well, where is the time to live that good life? Or is it because you have certain habits and patterns that need to change? You have certain behaviors. P for procrastination, P for people pleasing, D for disorganized, I for inefficient. Need I say more words? Maybe this episode gets you to sit back and think a little bit. Ask yourself, why am I working so hard? Why am I putting in all these hours? What's the point of it all? What is it that I want to experience and live? To what end? What will all these extra hours, extra time, working from home, working on weekends, What purpose will all of this serve? Well, I'm going to leave you thinking. I'm heading out of here because, like I said, I like to maintain a work-life balance. And this is me calling it a day. All our previous episodes are available on the IVM Podcast app and website. And you can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is IVM Podcasts. As for me, if you would like to talk to me more about overtime, overworked, procrastination, planning, efficiency, time management, etc., or maybe just about anxiety, fear, anything that you are going through in life right now, something rough, something not so good, you can DM me on Instagram. My handle is Positivity Angel.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, PayPal, and Siet. Thank you. We really do appreciate the support. So this week on Cyrus Says was great. We had Meghna joining us on Cock and Bull, Tanveer Taj and Priyanka Jena talking about pets. Huma Qureshi talks about her new television show and her life in Bollywood. And to celebrate 700 episodes on Cyrus Says, we had a number of his previous producers come on board and reminisce. Tune into This Round Is On Me, where Gauri Devi Dayal was joined by Samir Sheth and Yash Panage. These are the guys who started Bombay Canteen, O Pedro, and a number of other restaurants. Really great conversation they had with Gauri. On The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor tells us about nourishing creativity and the importance of losing and some micro habits to counter overthinking. On their 75th episode, Ritasha and Rayushi talk to Naveen Richards. On The Note with Monica Nayat, she speaks with Komal Nahata to talk about the business of Bollywood, lockdown losses, piracy issues, and experiments being done to keep it going. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Guru Bhatt, VP of Customer Success Platform for PayPal India, to talk about how the digital money landscape and the fintech ecosystem has fundamentally altered the world. We also have Thalarate, our Kannada podcast. Hosts Ganesh and Pawan discuss video games, and Sivakamyam Sabatam, the Tamil show where Kavita Jiva sheds light in another story about the bravery and excellence in the governance of the Pallava dynasty. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.